Look at the brand new poll out today. This one is stunning, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely stunning. Incredible news. He is just way ahead in so many of these swing states. Take a look at this right here. This is, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, Nevada. Do we have the New York Post headline? This is fantastic. Take a look at that. Trump now leading in 5 battleground states, all of which Biden won in 2020. Okay, breaking news. Guess what? If this keeps up, Donald Trump is the next president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. And the Democrats have no one to blame except themselves, because they've got an idiot in the White House who doesn't know how to govern, who doesn't understand the economy, who doesn't understand the border, who doesn't understand the importance of law and order, and consequently, it's all falling apart. Big time. Even, again, I keep going back to CNN. It's amazing, that they're falling like dominoes here because the handwriting's on the wall. Even CNN saying this is like a disaster. Capital D, disaster. Watch their sort of poll number cruncher here.
These Sunbelt battleground states, frankly, for the Joe Biden campaign, these numbers are an absolute disaster. The smallest lead is in Arizona for Donald Trump. He's up 6. Look at this, 9 in Georgia, 13 in Nevada. My goodness gracious, my God. That is a huge lead. No Democrat has lost that state since John Kerry lost it back in 2004. How about these Great Lake battleground states? This is something that the Joe Biden campaign can work with. Look, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump up 3, but that's well within the margin of error. Wisconsin, Donald Trump up 1, well within the margin of error. And actually, a Joe Biden lead, well within the margin of error, up a point here. This they can work with the Joe Biden campaign. This, the Donald Trump campaign, absolutely loves, and it looks like a lot of the other polling on the Sunbelt.
That's reality, okay? That's reality. And we can get into the reasons why. But before I do, one thing that's also incredibly important to note here is the shift in demographics. In other words, I don't know how he's going to pull this off. I just don't know how Joe Biden has any shot of winning back these states. Once you throw RFK into it, it gets even worse for him. But I'm not surprised by this, only because I think people in these parts of the country are really, really hurting. And you can keep telling them, oh, it's because of Trump. It's because of, you're not the right ethnicity or the right gender or the right whatever. And they're like, no, because you know what? Like a few years ago, things were a heck of a lot better. And I felt like I had more opportunity, and there was more prosperity, and there was more law and order, and our border wasn't out of control. And we weren't looking at the threat of World War III on the horizon. People are not dumb. It's amazing to me that Joe Biden thinks he can come into office, have some grand old plan, and spin it all day long, and then not be held accountable when, inflation goes to 9%. The fact that he was on CNN trying to argue, ladies and gentlemen, just last week, that he inherited 9% inflation from his predecessor. Nobody let Zell on you. You got 1.4%. You had 1.4% and you blew it. You drove it to 9% because you added a third stimulus check, because you let Chuck Schumer and company just spend away and write the checks. And you had a Federal Reserve who didn't help you much by printing some more. Okay. It all adds up to mega inflation. And even if you have a little bit of growth, the economy's growing at 1.6%. Hey, it's better than nothing, right? If you don't have wages growing enough to keep up with that growth, and they're not, people feel more poor. They feel poorer, okay? And that is why when you look at the Rust Belt of America, they're saying, this ain't for me. No, thank you. This guy's not doing it. And he's not. That's just the reality. And this cuts across party lines. You can either do the job or you can't. And if you can do the job, everybody benefits. In fact, when I look back at median incomes, during the Trump administration, prior to March 2020, median incomes went up the most they had gone up in 50 years. And they went up for everybody, okay? It didn't matter what color you were. It didn't matter what sex you were. It didn't matter what your preferences were. It went up for everybody, because when you have good policy, economic policy, tax policy, trade policy, then it does actually help everyone in the country. But when you have bad policy, like this administration has, because they don't understand it, because they put a social worker in charge of the National Council of Economic Advisors, I don't know. They just are so checked out on this stuff that it results in bad things. So consequently, it doesn't matter. Every demographic is saying, wait a second, this guy, not for me. I mean, historically, Democrats have been able to count on the Black vote, the Hispanic vote, the female vote, right? There's certain like demos that they target, and they kind of had in the past locked up. And Donald Trump has just blown all of that out of the water. It's really amazing to see. And you've got to see the CNN explanation of what's going on when you look at the demographics within these poll numbers. Here we go.
Why do you think Biden is doing better in the Great Lakes and Trump is doing so much better in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, the Trump coalition is changing. That's basically what's cooking here. This is at least one of the big reasons why. So this is among likely voters in all these battleground states we just spoke about. Back in 2020, 84% of the Trump campaigns, the Trump coalition was white. Look where it is now. It's 78%. The non-white portion of the Trump coalition, it was 13% in 2020. Look at this now. It's 19%. So the Trump coalition is becoming more diverse. And, of course, those Sun Belt battleground states are more diverse than the Great Lake battleground states.
You're looking at the Nevadas and the Arizonas here.
Of course. If you look at Nevada, Arizona, heavy Hispanic population, Georgia, heavily African-American population. With the Michigan does have some black voters in it, but Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are heavily, heavily white.
That's very interesting. Okay, add it all up. What does this say about where the race stands right now? We're talking Electoral College and the race to 270.
Yeah, the race to 270. It's advantage Donald Trump, but he's not over the 270 mark just yet, all right? So if we flip Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia here in your lighter shades of pink, you add them to the states, and of course the 2nd Congressional District up in Maine, which Donald Trump won last time around, that gets him to 268 electoral votes. If we keep Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in the too close to call category, along with Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District, Joe Biden at 225. So it's advantage Donald Trump, but Joe Biden does at this point have a path to 270.
Yeah, and right.
Really fascinating. I mean, think about how amazing that is. If I told you that the Republicans had a shot at the Black and the Hispanic vote, I mean, you'd laugh, right? But I've said this all along, like maybe I'm too simplistic. I don't know. Simple girl from New Hampshire, live free or die territory. Don't forget to check out the Trish Regan .shop. You can get your mug there. Live free or die. I mean, like, look, I'm pretty simple. Like, you know, you had me at lower taxes, for goodness sakes. Like, give more power to the people. Let them have the say, and let the federal government do what the federal government needs to do, which is keep us safe, which is like enforce the border. All right? Like, not that hard, right? And the idea that we conflate and confuse with race and gender, all this stuff that just is like, gets in the way of what we should be as a nation, which is a meritocracy that it has opportunity for everyone. The fact that all this stuff gets in the way is really pretty darn shameful. And for whatever reason, over the years, the Republicans have gotten themselves sort of boxed into this corner where they're seen as some really bad things. And Donald Trump has been seen as some really bad things, even though he's not the one like Biden who calls people boy, right? Like a 50-some-odd-year-old man. Like, I'm sorry, but you know what? I call it like it is. And I think it's about time the rest of America do the same. So I am encouraged to see that. That shows me, you know what? We're a lot more colorblind than you think. And Americans are simple because we're just people that want to take care of ourselves and take care of our families and provide for our families and provide for ourselves. And you know what? That doesn't have to be all about what color you are, what gender you are, whether you're Spanish speaking or not Spanish speaking. For goodness sakes, they've, by the way, completely lost the Hispanics with this X stuff. Give me a break. Latinx. No Latin woman wants to be known as Latinx. She's a Latina. The entire language you'd have to redo. Think about it. It's a Romance language. There's like feminine and masculine for everything. All the nouns, you're going to redo everything, guys, all for political correctness. Hispanics are like, I don't think so. This makes no sense. So Hispanics are deserting him. The Black vote is starting to desert Joe Biden. And next up, women. I mean, that's all that they're clinging to, I guess. But women are smart too. They are the CFOs, if you would, of their households, and they care about their families and making sure there's food on the table and a roof over their heads. So security and financial security, these things matter. It's a big part of why I started 76 Research, by the way, just to give a plug for the newsletter. We had a new one out on Friday. If you haven't signed up, please do me that favor. Go over to 76 Research right now, sign up, go check out the model portfolios, because there's 10 to 15 stocks in each one of them, handpicked by Rob and myself. And we're big believers in making sure that you invest safely for the future. So we're not doing it for you. We are just merely giving you our insight, our expertise. Rob has worked on Wall Street for more than 20 years. He's managed billions of dollars. He's been a stock picker his whole career. I'm very much, obviously, in the news cycle, on the front lines of this news cycle, from an economic perspective, from a market perspective, from a political perspective. And so what we've been able to do is come together to really identify pockets of opportunity for you for the long haul. So 3 different portfolios for you. Model portfolios. Go over to 76research.com. Go and click on the tab that says model portfolios. I'll see if I can put it in the chat as well. And you can subscribe to one of them. I highly encourage. And if nothing else, just sign up and get the free stuff, right? Because you owe that to yourself. Anyway, it's a difficult time. And any way you look at this, people are saying, I've had it.